入ってる。
Boy, this test match continues to make for compelling viewing. That cloud in Southampton remains on the ground, which sees conditions in favour of the bowlers that picked up 4 wickets in this first session of play on what is day 3 officially of the India-New Zealand ICC World Test Championship final. Wickets that fell. India's captain and vice-captain came close to getting to 50. Neither could manage it. They are now 211 for 7. We'll see how this game stands with Dale Steyn and Sanjay Manjrekar on Intel Presents, ESPN Ricken for Matchday, powered by Royal Stag. It's a good time to be bowling in England, Dale Steyn. New Zealand session, that?
Yeah, definitely. You can see they obviously came off the field last night or yesterday. They had a good conversation about how they wanted to go about business today and this morning especially, and they made life of scoring runs for India really difficult. And I mean, there was a period there where I think they went 40 balls without scoring a run or something like that, you know, and that was just after KOHLI's dismissal. So they got the ball in the right area today, and it obviously wasn't swinging as much as it was yesterday. And I think that's when it's most dangerous, because when it's swinging a little bit less, that's when you tend to find the edges. It looks great when it misses the bat by this much, but it's when it swings a little bit less, that's when you find the edge, and that's where you probably pick up a little bit more wickets. So far, definitely New Zealand session.
Sanjay?
Yes, good session for New Zealand, and the key wicket, of course, was Virat Kohli when he got out. And the only change that I saw in the surface, the bowling more or less from New Zealand was pretty much the same, apart from the first 30 minutes that we saw yesterday. The pitch seemed to have quickened up a little bit. The sluggish bounce has gone. There is still some movement, but typical sort of progression of a surface where the ball is coming onto the bat. Run making, why was that difficult for India? I think various reasons for it. One, of course, the attitude was, apply yourself, and first test match, just put your heart and soul into your defense, and some other, aspects of footwork, which for me, it was very, very glaring in the way most Indian batsmen are trying to get onto the front foot, thereby denying themselves few other scoring opportunities. But in the end, you've got to say, not easy batting conditions. And New Zealand, with their 5 receiving options, did what we sort of more or less expected.
Okay, now I've heard opening comments from both of you, and I'd like to go deep into both aspects that you've discussed. Sanjay on, what made run making so hard for India. Dale on, why New Zealand got it right. So it's interesting that you say, Dale, that you felt like they did what they did yesterday. Now, we were critical of New Zealand in the first session yesterday, where perhaps they gave India a bit of an advantage with that opening partnership. Now, today you say it's perhaps swinging a little less. So what was different? Did New Zealand come out with a plan? Did they fix what they got wrong yesterday, or were just conditions playing more to their favor this morning?
I think a little bit of both. I think conditions, like Sanjay said, the wicket seems to have quickened up a little bit, and when it quickens up, it doesn't have that stickiness about it, so it doesn't seem as much. Everything happens a little bit quicker, so players are not just playing and missing by a large margin. They're almost nicking it this time, or they are finding the edge, or it's just beating the inside edge and finding and hitting the pads, so I think the conditions definitely changed a little bit. It's definitely quickened up, but what I saw from New Zealand today was a lot more boring cricket, and I think it's the only time in life when you should be excited about being boring is when you're bowling, keeping it really simple. I didn't see a lot of them coming wide of the crease, trying to bowl massive in-swingers, trying to do all these different things. They seem to just try and do the same thing over and over and over and over again. They went through a period where there was no runs scored for almost 8 overs or something like that, and they got their reward. It was nice to see a little bit of a change in thought which worked for them, was when Wagner decided to bowl short and got Rahane out. Bit of an unlucky dismissal for him. I can see where he was going with it on 49. He probably just wanted to knock it on its head for one and get to 50, and just kind of, I don't know, maybe lost a little bit of his thinking there or whatnot, and just out of control shot, bang, caught. But other than that, New Zealand went back to the drawing board, kept it really simple, and made run scoring difficult for India. But the moment you see Ashwin come in and Jadeja, they're kind of different batters. They bat like out of the box kind of batting. You see Ashwin moving around and scoring at almost 80 strike rate. That's the kind of innings that can be the difference at the end of the day when you're looking at 220, 250. That little Ashwin innings might just spur something on in Jadeja now to score a little bit quicker after lunch.
All right. Now I'd like to go into individual bowlers and batsmen, and we'll start with what set the session up, which was essentially Kyle Jameson getting Virat Kohli. I'll come to you first, Dale, and then I'll get Sanjay to go deep into it. It looked like a ball that seemed, which, you have to give full credit to Jameson, it's almost unplayable. Now, what was your take on the ball itself and how good it was for Kohli?
I feel like I'm talking way too much here. I just talk way too much, actually, in general. But anyway.
No, you don't. Dale.
I think Jamieson
talks too much.
I think Jamieson, what he did well was that he pitched a couple more up today. I was listening to the commentary there. I'm like Sanjay, I don't often listen to the commentary. I just like the TV on in the background. But I did see the percentages of him hitting the stumps a little bit higher today than what it was than yesterday. And that length. So he obviously bowled a beautiful length to start and then pitched one or two more up. And with somebody of his height, I know Morne also struggled with it. Morne Morkel struggled with it. Is just trying to find that length to hit the stumps. The moment he found that length, because it's a scary length to bowl. The moment you bowl that length, you feel like you're bowling to the best batters in the world. Virat, he's going to smack you through the covers, if you get it wrong. But when you get it right, that's when you seem to find the edge. Like with Pant, he got it right. He bowled it a bit fuller, a little bit wider. Not the best ball he bowled all day, but like the first one that RISHABH felt like, I can score some runs here. Edge. Same thing with Virat. Probably hanging on a good length. The first one that he felt, maybe I might be able to get something onto this. Although it was a defensive shot, nipped back beautifully and hit the pads just in line to hit the stumps. So he's just changed his length a little bit more frequently today than he did yesterday.
Okay, so we've heard from the bowler Sanjay. Now as a batsman, was that unplayable even for a set Virat Kohli? Or could there have been something that the Indian captain could have done?
See, there's no ball that's unplayable. The same ball can be, faced differently by different people. There are great deliveries, and it's a way of us saying that, the batsman did the best he could and still couldn't manage to save his wicket. Then we call that ball unplayable. It was a great delivery, but clearly, what you saw and you heard perhaps the broadcasters also talking about it, because I saw some replays of that particular dismissal. Virat Kohli in this innings had come out a little differently than he has done virtually right through his career. He is predominantly a front foot player, but in this particular innings, he was only a front foot player. It was very similar to the kind of success that he had against Jimmy Anderson, in that series where he got those 300s after having problems against Anderson before that. So I think he relied on a method that really worked for him, which was about just discipline, leaving balls outside the off stump. And that particular delivery was, again, Kyle Jameson, a bowler that he was respecting because he looked the most potent of all bowlers. So again, very, very clear-headed about getting that front foot outside the line of the off stump, way down the pitch and looking to leave the ball. And if you watch it closely, that first step that has already gone on off stump before the ball has been delivered. But this time the line is different. It's one of the lines that Kyle Jameson hasn't bowled much. It's on the middle stump. And then that front pad comes in the way where the bat cannot come around in time. So the batter expecting that line to be outside the off stump, bowler bowling it on middle, and very often that front pad becomes your enemy and doesn't allow the bat to come through. And that was, I think, Virat's leg before there for you.
Okay, so since you brought up the 2018 series, and that was almost a watershed series for Virat Kohli after what happened 4 years prior in England in 2014. So why is it that resorting to that same plan or style of attack has not worked today? Is it only because of the type of opposition that he has, or because he surely has the game to play off the back foot? We saw Rohit Sharma yesterday play off the front foot and the back foot. So what would you have advised, and why has this not worked for Kohli to a degree that he would have liked?
I think it would have worked because, barring that particular delivery, who would think that Virat Kohli would be out in the next 1 hour or something? And you would have seen him because he has those kind of mental reserves. He's not like Rohit Sharma, who feel if Rohit keeps defending for a period of time, you get the impression that maybe he's running out of the mental reserves. Virat Kohli will never run out of that kind of energy, and so will Pujara. So it was one of those balls. But clearly for me, this was an interesting innings where Virat Kohli was not just a predominant front foot player, he was only a front foot player. And he was willing to graft and graft, considering this is a one test match, championship. And it's a marquee test match, World Test Championships, all those factors coming into play. And he decided that he's going to commit to one way, which is about getting onto the front foot, just tackling that swinging ball by, going right to the pitch of it or just leaving it. So when you look at, it's very interesting. When you look at the batting card, Raunak, you look at the strike rates, which are slightly better. You'll see Rohit Sharma is pretty good. You'll see Ashwin down the order pretty good. These are guys who are willing to use that space behind the batting crease. And, that's when you get a few other options to score as well. Virat Kohli denied himself that option. But the great man that he is, I think the long-term plan was to just hang in there. And who could deny that he would have gone on to get another 100 like he did in 2018 when he got those 3.
All right. Now about Kyle Jameson. Got the Kohli wicket, has now got bowled 12 maidens, 3 for 26. And here's a guy, Dale, playing his, 7th test match, playing his 2nd test only in England. We tend to almost forget that he's just a newcomer. He's just the new boy on the block. But if someone can relate to getting it right quite early in their career, it's you. Impressed by what you've seen of Kyle Jameson so quickly?
Yeah, very impressed. And I think a little IPL stint also does you wonders in the confidence. You're rubbing shoulders with a lot of guys. He would have been in the dressing room with Maxwell and De Villiers, Virat himself, and those guys. I think he played literally every game for RCB when he played in the IPL. So you kind of come into the series with a lot of confidence, feeling like, you got the backing of the best players in the world, Kane Williamson, all the guys on the New Zealand side, obviously, as well as IPL teams, and he did well in the IPL. So stepping into this test match, I'm sure he's a man that's got a lot of confidence right now. Things are just going well for you. And I tell you, the best time to bowl is when you've got confidence, when you feel you've got the skill and capability within yourself to be able to execute what you want to do. So I've been very impressed with him so far. His patience has been good. He's got all the credibilities of a great fast bowler. He's tall. He bowls a nippy pace. I mean, if he wanted to, I'm sure he could get quicker. We always want guys to get quicker for some weird reason. I don't know why, because it is obviously great. But, right now, in these conditions, you don't need to ask for much more. He's landing it in a good place. He's getting the ball to move around, and he's using his height to his favor. So yeah, very impressed with him so far, especially early on in his career.
Bit of chat going around that Virat Kohli requested Jameson to bowl to him with the red ball in the RCB nets, just as a little prep and build up, which Kyle Jameson politely declined. Ever had such a request entertained, Dale Steyn, in all the years that you played in IPL nets for different franchises? Any mainstream Indian batsmen saying, "Oh, why don't you just bowl a little bit of the red ball so we're better placed when we see you in Cape Town or Durban next"?
I never had anybody ask me to bowl with a red ball, but I did have Kane Williamson ask me when we played the Sunrisers. He asked me, I was swinging the ball one season beautifully, and he said to me, we're playing a test series against Jimmy after the IPL. He said, do you mind bowling to me a lot more than you would normally bowl? And I love bowling to right-handers, and I said, absolutely. And at that time, he was just working on hitting the ball extremely late. He didn't care if he dragged the ball onto the stumps, for example, if he got bowled or if he nicked one. There was a real identification in the way that he wanted to go about his business in playing specifically Jimmy. And he identified myself as somebody who could kind of help him get through that. So I have had one or two players in the past ask me to kind of replicate a situation for them. And I mean, Kane's just a wonderful batter. So Rahul Dravid was another one who once asked me to do something and didn't care how many times he got out in the nets. He had a game plan as to how he wanted to go about something. So I always respect guys that do that.
Yeah. How interesting is that, Sanjay? The IPL as a place to forge international alliances. Great South African bowler bowls to great New Zealand batsmen to prepare against a great England bowler. Sanjay?
Yeah, I just raised my hand to say that during my playing career as well, I got many requests from many bowlers to bat against them in the nets when they were sort of out of form.
You're being a little harsh on yourself, Sanjay. Come on.
See, I'm in the company of Dale Steyn, right? Who is a champion, one of the all-time greats, and he's self-deprecating, always giving somebody else the credit. So I thought maybe I'll take a little grain of that trait of his.
Sure. Okay, let's get back to the game. Kyle Jameson, second wicket. Rishabh Pant was batting on a knife edge. You think survived a close LBW shout. You thought Pant was a big wicket in the context of where this Test match stands, Sanjay. Now, was that just a result of continuous pressure from New Zealand, or was that just Pant not being able to hold his attacking instinct back? Thoughts on that wicket?
Yeah, a couple of points, quick points. One is, again, slightly disappointed to see Pant also being one of those Indian batsmen who wants to stand outside the crease and plant his front foot forward. I think there are a few advantages doing that, but there are plenty of other, easy sort of runs that you miss out on when you do that. And the way he got out, the shot that he played, people might think, come on, just rein yourself in. But now we have to look at Rishabh Pant differently. This is how he bats. This is how he might bat in the second innings and play for a couple of hours and put India in a winning Test match position. So this is what he does. On this occasion, didn't quite execute the shot well. There's been some good slip catching, one drop catch. So that's a Pant for you. I think this is something that we'll have to accept as Rishabh Pant's way of batting.
Okay. Now, everything that we have said, though, just as India were walking back, Nasir Hussain mentioning on commentary that Virat Kohli wouldn't be too unhappy. India are still at 211. If they get another 30, 40, they've not done as badly in that first innings. Do you agree with that, Dale?
Yeah, I mean, I think we were talking about it last night, and I thought, jeepers, if they get to 300, I mean, 300 is a big number. You want your batting lineup to kind of get to 300. Then it's a number that New Zealand would have been particularly worried about. But right now, Virat will be talking to them at lunchtime and trying to come up with a plan and building partnerships along with Jadeja. He's in a hope that these last couple batters, Bumrah, Shami, and Ishan, can just hang in there with Jadeja to get them another 30 to 40 to even 50 runs. Who knows, and get them into a position where they can go over 250, between 250, 275. And who knows, if one of these guys hangs in a little bit, they could even find themselves going a little bit higher. Because they're more than capable of holding a bat. So that will be the talk. And Jadeja can take him down. He knows that New Zealand don't have the firepower to really scare him. Maybe Wagner can bowl a couple short balls, but he's not going to be too worried about that. The biggest weapon in New Zealand's arsenal right now is the swinging ball. So he does know that they're going to be bowling fuller to him a lot more often than not. And if you ask any batter where you want them to bowl, full, especially at the tail enders, bowl full, please. By all means, bowl full. And when the ball is full, there's always a possibility of runs. Nicks over the keeper and slips, one out of the middle of the bat back over the bowler's head. So Jadeja might come out after lunch, first see the first couple overs, and then start to get into a rhythm of like almost one-day mode where he can score a lot more freely.
Yep. Okay, now before I move on, I forgot that there's one more specialist batsman when you talk about, and he's India's top scorer now in this innings. Ajinkya Rahane with 49. It seemed like almost a soft dismissal at the end of it, Sanjay. Now, what did you make of Rahane's innings overall, the approach this morning, and the nature of the wicket itself?
Just the same Rahane that we've been seeing for the last many years, barring one or two innings like that 100 he got against Australia at Melbourne, a Test match that India won. After that, again, drop of form has happened, which is interesting. That after 100, your form takes off. You feel more confident. But he's just got a string of low scores. I thought he really applied himself well. So credit to him for just going through the grind. But I want to analyze the dismissal too much because I was asked to do a little analysis on Ajinkya Rahane on ESPN Cricket Form in the way that he has got out and what he needs to do. The interesting thing about Rahane is there's not one particular mode of dismissal for him in the last few years when he's got low scores. So I've always associated his dismissals and run of poor scores to his state of mind. And as for that shot that he played to get out, if you saw the pull shot before that as well, there's a lot of tentativeness and not the kind of commitment that you see from a Virat Kohli or Rohit Sharma and Shubman Gill when he played the pull shot, and Rishabh Pant, the kind of commitment they have in their attacking shots. So it was just an extension of Ajinkya Rahane's play generally over the last few years of being a little tentative, unsure. It's amazing despite that, he continues to give these kind of scores to India, and those 40 runs would be quite handy.
I know that this is something that we discussed at length during the Australia series. We had Tom Moody and Mike Hussey. Ajit Agarkar said on our platform too that fast bowlers do not bowl enough short balls to Rahane. Dale Steyn's been harping on that from the first day or so in general, that New Zealand don't use the bouncer enough. Again, they've got wickets. It's been their session. but it's all been with the stuff going up, Dale. You would like to see a couple of more short ones?
Just a couple more short ones, and also right now, maybe another thing that came into my mind right now is that because they haven't bowled as many short balls, and this is just a bit of a theory, but who knows, is that the center of the wicket obviously is a little bit more softer in the sense that they've banged on a length and things happen a little bit quicker off that length right now, and that's why they might find the edge or they might find the one that nips back and hits the pads. But you see Wagner, he runs in, he held the ball across the seam, and it's just a little bit slow on Rahane when he tries to play that pull. He just wanted to kind of knock it on its head. The ball before too, he just wanted to play the similar kind of shot, and he was there almost way too early, and he kind of spooned it. When we saw Gill and KOHLI and them earlier on in the innings yesterday, they were full-blooded pulls. Rohit was full-blooded pulls, and they smacked it in front of square, no problem. This one kind of just spooned on him a little bit slower off the deck, and maybe that's because there hasn't been a lot of short balls bowled. So that center of the wicket there has had no action really. It's still a bit slow and sticky. But Rahane, a good player of the pull shot. You see him in Australia because the wickets are a bit quicker. He just kind of gets there, hits it on its head, and he gets it away backward of square leg for 4 or for 1. Same thing in South Africa. It did a similar thing in South Africa. But yeah, in England now, a little bit slower, just stuck on him, got caught. But I do want to see them bowl a couple more short balls. I find that once they bowl a couple more short balls, you even see Ashwin's first ball, I think it was his first ball or second ball, he was expecting Wagner to come short. All of a sudden, the feet are all over the place, and that's the way that you want to see the opening batters kind of bat. Not to that extent, but have that kind of seed planted in the batter's mind that something else could potentially come, and then you can nick them off.
All right. Now, as we discuss the approach going into this next session, Sanjay Ashwin's wicket leaves Jadeja as now the last, you think, recognized batter. He's 15 not out. There are no spinners in this attack. If he is to play that attacking sort of game, try and get some quick runs with the tail, is that easy given the conditions, given the types of bowlers? Would you like to see him play that way, or will it be more of the same, Jadeja just hanging around trying to bat as much time as he can?
See, quick runs, if somebody wants quick runs on a pitch like this, and with Jadeja's game that he has, there are certain shots that he plays for quick runs. They're generally against spinners, against faster bowlers. If the ball is pitched up, he'll hoik it towards mid-wicket. If the ball is short, he might just play the ram shot. So these are his shots to get quick runs. But the pitch is such, and the kind of line and length that these guys are bowling, it's not going to be easy. Now he has to maybe try and remember how Cheteshwar Pujara played when he got that 100 on this very ground and he was running out of partners. Pujara didn't change his game too much, but the intent was brilliant, and my heart went out to Pujara that particular evening watching him bat, how he was trying to get as many runs for his team and making sure that he was taking strike, and towards the end of the innings he was hitting balls in the air as well. So Jadeja within his limits must try and get as much strike as possible. This isn't kind of pitch where you would say Ishant Sharma can bat out an over, or a Bumrah or Shami. So he should be taking the bulk of the strike and not try and hitting the bowler out of the ground. Just try and extend that, get those 20, 30 runs more and see how that goes. So yeah, I hope Jadeja does that.
All right. And if 3 wickets are to fall quickly in the session and we do get to see New Zealand bat and we see India's bowlers bowl, Dale, will they be as much of a threat as New Zealand's bowlers have been? Is there one among the 3 that you think would be a bigger challenge given the conditions that you've seen between Ishant, Shami and Bumrah?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to watch them bowl because I just think that they've got a little bit more wheels than the New Zealand bowlers right now, especially somebody like Bumrah. We see the wickets just starting to quicken up a little bit, and I think I've mentioned it before. I think that's going to be the difference. The quicker nature of the wicket is going to where it's going to find the edges. We see Southee, he's swinging the ball beautifully, big time, but he's not finding those edges that we're so used to him finding. Once the wicket quickens up, and somebody like Bumrah and Shami, they are the guys. They don't swing it massive, but they swing it late and just enough that they'll beat the inside edge or find the outside edge. So I'm really excited to watch them bowl. And Ishant, they're just quicker. They're just a little bit quicker through the air, and it's going to do things faster off the deck than what the New Zealanders are doing it right now.
Okay, fascinating.
Raunak.
Let's wait and see. Yes, Sanjay, please.
Yeah. Quick thoughts. Dale obviously will be watching the bowlers. They'll be watching the pitch. what is going to be intriguing, and really I'm excited to look at, and maybe batting fans can look at it, is barring a couple of Indian batters, you saw all of them standing outside the batting crease and very keen to get onto the front foot. You'll see New Zealand, most of their batters going exactly the opposite way. They'll be going deep into their crease. So we'll keep a watch on which technique is working better in conditions like this. So that's the thing I'm going to particularly sort of looking out for.
Brilliant. We've got plenty to look out for, and what's going to be, again, an extended session. Let's hope it's one that's not curtailed by either rain or bad light, and it should make for a fascinating tea time chat then with Sanjay Manjrekar and Dale Steyn on Intel Presents ESPN Cricket for Matchday, powered by Royal Stag. Don't forget, this is again a 2.5-hour session. We're trying to make up all the lost time that we've had. Keep an eye out for India's approach. Rare guard action tends to affect a lot of test matches these days. So let's see if India can get as close to that 275 or 300 that Shane Warne said yesterday could very well be match winning. Still a long way to go from there, but it should be a very intriguing second session of play on day 3. It's been a compelling test match already. Whatever we've seen of it, expect more of the same, and join us at tea. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
インテル入ってる。